There we go. What's going on, YouTube? Back with another video. I just put out a video yesterday. But, one thought in my mind subconsciously, that not subconsciously, a thought I've been wanting to talk about. But let's zip this all the way up. I'm acting here like it's not cold out here. I'm bundled. I got the gloves on. Got the, you know what I mean? Shout out to thieves. Got the thieves on. It's cold as shit out here. Other people, they see it's a little cold and they can kind of get away with it. No, I fully bundle up. Fully. Bundling. But anyway, let's get into the video. So the title of the video today, I'm going to be talking about reincarnation, death, the loops. And I'm going to be talking about a lot of TV references, a lot of movie references. And I think most of everybody's seen everything. Listen, all this stuff's off the dome. I don't write any notes down. So sometimes, I make a video and I don't even watch the videos back, by the way. Just a preference. I do not watch any of my videos back. I don't watch them. When somebody says, yo, this is what you said, I'll be like, what'd I say? I don't know. It's a stream of consciousness. I get it out. I upload it. I don't think about it no more. It's just like a way to help me organize my thoughts, get them all out there, and I don't deal with them no more. It's like, all right, that's been said. If it wasn't for... And you know what the one thing is? I don't want people... I always have to preface this with everything I say. And, even when I tweet, I think people judge me, on my tweets and stuff. It's actually funny. One of my friends was like, yo, you've been tweeting about a lot of stuff, and you always end up being right. And I was like, yeah, but what the way I come across when I talk and when I speak and when I, am on these social media platforms is it sounds like what I'm saying is the only way to look at it, or you have to understand, or you're not smart, and it's not how I'm saying it. I'm saying it hey, but the problem is when no one stands for anything, the person who does gets looked at like they're crazy. Because I stand in my beliefs and my convictions, and I standing on business, you know what I mean? I'm standing on something and no one stands for anything. It offends them. It's like, damn, why can't I? It's not really it's not they're mad at what I'm saying. It's they're mad that, why can't I also be that confident in what I'm believing and what I'm saying? So that's where the hatred stems from, you know what I mean? So these videos, pure stream of consciousness. If I miss something, I miss it. And sometimes I'll be like, right after a video, I'll be like, did I miss something? And I'll be like, damn, I missed that shot at it. Nah, fuck it. If I remember, I remember. But then at the same time, some things I think when I'm putting out a video is, if you read between the lines of what I'm saying, and you can pick up the intricacies of what I'm trying to say, if I don't even say the best, I still have it there. So, the video should lead you to the thought process of how eventually my rambles get to you. You know what I'm saying? Eventually my ramblings will get to you and they'll make sense. So, like I said, the title of the video, death, reincarnation, the loops, having kids. So, I talk to a lot of people, and nowadays nobody wants to have kids. And the real subconscious meaning of not wanting to have kids is basically everything I talk about now. So you don't want to have kids because it's like you are aware of the loop that's going to happen. And listen, you're not aware of the loop in a sense of the way I talk about the loop, right? Repeating patterns. But no, your loop is I don't want to have a kid like me because I don't want them to go and deal with the same insecurities or problems that I'm dealing with. Why would I want to do that for my kid? So hold on, subconsciously you're admitting that is you. You're just having you again to repeat the loop, is what I'm saying. So when you have kids, you are repeating the loop. So when you die, you're eventually going to go back into your kid's kid to complete, ultimately to complete, become the perfect version of you, which is what I'm saying. And subconsciously, by you saying you don't want to have kids, you're saying I can't participate in that game. But let me tell you something. This is going to sound mean. It's not, I don't mean to sound mean, but it's I'll talk about my sister dying, for example. Or let's talk about anybody in your life that's died. When somebody dies, it's almost they exist as if they never were. Now the loop's done. So if you don't have kids and you die it's kind of like you never existed. You never tried to become the perfect version of you. Even if it, unless, there's circumstances, right? If you actively seeked out and tried your best to, but let's be honest, how many people have actually tried? How many of your grandparents, were like super fucking tapped in, spiritually trying their best? Because if that was the case, so would your parents and so would you. So don't get mad at me for saying that. Like, it's almost as if you never existed, because it's honestly true. Like, for example, my sister died, and it still feels like a dream. Like, she died? It's almost as if she never existed. So, like, even my mom said it. Actually, my mom said that, like, I don't know, like a month ago. She's like, I had a dream. Like, it's like, yo, she's really, yeah. It's like she never existed. Because what happens is, when you abstain from that participation, that energy's got to just go right back. So who knows? And that's why I say, if I have kids, which, I will, hopefully soon, my sister's going to come back. She's going to be like, my brother, so it might not even necessarily, it might not even be me until a couple generations down, and it's going to have to be my sister parent. It's crazy how the loop works, which builds off onto the generational trauma, that I was talking about, if my sister dies because of due to the, my sister was the first, you got to look at it like this. If I come from a long line of people doing drugs and stealing, robbing, killing, or not even robbing, I don't even know if they're killing, but robbing for sure. I'm just saying. And then the drugs, and everybody's been kind of cool, right? Like, everybody's been kind of fine. No, like, anything crazy. But then the crack in the crack that needed to finally start me was her death, right? So you got to look at it like that. Like, sometimes even an event is to spark you, and you could say that's narcissistic, but it's not. Like, for example, you got to look at, like, when TV shows and movies talk about, start, like, an example of, like, a new life. Like, when Sally, this is not a spoiler, but hopefully it is. If you've seen the show Barry, this is what I'm trying to say by, like, not having kids, or by having kids. She, goes on the run. And, her whole life, she wanted to be an actress, famous actress. And then, she kept failing and not really becoming who she really wanted to be. So what ends up happening is she goes into her, on the run, and she's starting a new life. She ends up acting the whole time, right? She ends up acting the whole time, like she has to wear a wig and she's working a shitty job, right? So she ends up having to act full time. And let me break all that down. Because as you're watching the show, you're like, oh, she's now, like, if you get the meaning, you're like, oh, now she's acting full time. But let's break it down deeper. Let's break it down to what I'm trying to say. If your family has never done nothing, your grandpa was just a drinker, your dad doesn't even talk to your dad or your grandpa, and the family's kind of disjointed, everybody's talking shit on each other, nobody really is ever trying to rise above and get some knowledge, right? And let's say you were the same way, and then you have kids. Well, that kid is also going to be born in the dark, not knowing anything, right? So then when you finally come back again in your same lineage, it's almost going to be like you're in the dark. You're going to wake up and be like, why am I in the dark? What happened to the lights? I remember last time I was here, there were lights, but now there's darkness. Well, you never woke your family up, so you're going to be in the darkness. That's how this game works. We will demote you and demote you and demote you until you can eventually get out of the light. Like, we're going to make it harder and harder and harder. So, like, if you look at it, like, Sally was almost at, the top. She was, like, had the breakthrough. She was able to act and could go on TV shows, movies. But then, by her aversion to waking up and being her best self, she goes into, imagine that's her second life, right? Her second life of Now she's in the dark. Now she has to act all the time. And what does that speak deeper to? Now she has to learn about herself. If she's acting out of character, she doesn't know who she is. And that's the same thing I'm trying to tell you guys about you. If you spend this whole time trying to figure out other things that aren't you, you're wasting your time. And I'm not trying to say have kids is like to complete some spiritual test, but I mean, I just think you got to look at your circumstances. Like, if you think you can right your wrongs, your family's wrongs, like, why wouldn't you try? Like, people already given up before they even try. That's why, Inception is so crazy. Like, even Inception, even the point of Tenet. Nolan's kind of speaking, but he doesn't know he's speaking in that deep metaphorical sense of, like, and if you got Tenet, he didn't know. Like, think about Tenet in a sense of what we're talking about right now. The protagonist didn't know that this was his mission the whole time. Isn't that exactly what we're living in right now? By me having kids, I'm consciously saying, hey, this is my mission. And I'm going to come out the other side completed. So imagine, hold on, let's break it down in Tenet terms. The protagonist starts the mission. You're you. What's Robert Pattinson's character's name? I don't even remember. But you know how that's like hinted that Max, that's like his like girlfriend's son, right? Let's just say hypothetically that's his son. His son, which is him, goes back and starts continuing the mission, right? His son then continues the mission. That's what we're in. You're going to be constantly continuing the mission until you get back. Look, Tenet's deeper than we think about. Yo, Tenet's actually crazy to think about. Tenet is really like, it's literally like, hey, I'm going to rescue my lineage. How do I alter all the plans that happen and save my lineage? Let's go back in time and fix it. That's literally what it's about. Inception's a different version of what happens on the opposite spectrum of, let's say, like we said, your family doesn't know nothing about nothing and you want to wake up. Well, what happens when you get in the dream? You're trapped. You're forgetting. You have to rebuild from scratch these memories, these dreams. You don't even know if they're yours. That's what happens. I hope what I'm saying makes sense, because I know it may sound like, what are you talking about? Like, because a lot of people are just like, I'm just born to my parents. Because this is what a lot of people think. They're thinking, I'm just born to my parents, and I'm worried about me, and then I die. And I believe in God, and I'm just going to go to heaven. Well, God told you there's 7 layers of heaven, 7 layers of hell. What the hell do you think this is? This is the training ground. You can't even get to this. How are you supposed to get to the 7 layers? And then there's 365, and that's supposed to symbolize what? How many? I forget. I'm going blank on my Bible. I gotta brush up. But anyway, let's say there's 7 layers of heaven. You think they're gonna let an incomplete human into even the first layer? They're gonna say, the first question they're gonna ask you when you get to the first layer of heaven is, what mission did you complete on earth? What did you learn on earth? And you're gonna show up because you did nothing. You did nothing. You didn't do no spiritual tests. You didn't do no knowledge. You didn't do anything. You're gonna walk up and say, I lived a great life. I loved my family, and I put them in a good financial position, and I believed in God, and I died, and I came here. They're going to say, okay, yeah, but like, what lessons did you learn? What did you learn while you were there? How to earn money, how to provide for my family, and, believe in God and pray to church, or, pray to God every day. And they're going to say, yeah, so you didn't learn anything. All right, go back down and do it again. And again. And again. Why would I let you in? That's a very blunt way of putting it. You need to learn more about your whole being, like your whole, who you are. I think that's why it's, I'm at a state where I'm like trying to tell everybody, I'm like, man, when you realize and you sit back and you look at your life and you're sitting there reflecting, you're like, damn, all these actions. Like, if you really just sat there and thought about, like, all right, prime example, like, I'm gonna have to use my friend for example. He's like, his dad doesn't talk to his dad, right? Think about just potentially, let's all just think about what could stem from a lack of talking with your dad. What issues would arise? What insecurities could arise? What type of behavior is needed to come to the forefront if you're not talking to your father? Then think about what that's going to do for the son, where he has no connection to the grandfather. You get what I'm saying? Because then, when that son has kids, if his father didn't talk to his father, why would he talk to his? Do you see what I'm trying to say? And how it stems and how it can create, and like, everybody thinks everything is just, like, what I'm saying is like some grand concept, and it's just like, no. Take a look at how, like, you are also that same, like, you could do the same thing. Everything is just an effect and a ripple of, like, what you could do, of what you have the potential to do. It's like, sometimes you really sit back and you're like, man, did I really create all this? Because it feels like you really could. Like, only you can outsmart you. Like, imagine if you, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you signed up for this game, right? Before dropping into this life, you go, yo, you know what would really fuck me up? If I did this, but he did it all along, and blah, 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 and you're writing this fire script. And that's why there's moments in your life where you're like, yo, why does that seem familiar? Why do I feel like I understand that scenario, but you have no idea why you should understand, or why that should be familiar to you, and certain things like that. You're like, why is that familiar? It's because this is your script. You wrote it. It's just like, you should see, what's that movie with Tom Hanks, Halle Berry? Where they start from like 35, it's like a journey over 3,500 years. And it starts from them, Cloud Atlas. It starts from them in like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. It starts from them in, like, let's say hypothetically, like, jungle caveman worshiping this god named Sonya, or whatever, I can't remember. Sonya, right? And then it goes through their life, and then it goes all the way to the future. But then it's funny because in one part in the future, Sonya is really just a clone, and they eat her human flesh, or her clone flesh meat, and they free one of them, and then she becomes the god that they worship in the past. And then in the future, they're finally together again. But you see how it's just full 360. It's a full 360. It's a loop. It's a loop. And it's like, if they didn't take those actions, if they didn't do those things to get to where they were, to get to the future, like, nothing would ever happen. That's what I'm trying to say. You have to take these risks. You have to believe. It's rough. That's why, what scenes I always relate to them in movies, when they always have that scene of the main character. I don't think you guys understand how deep it is. Like, when picture a movie scene where they have, like, the main character goes up, looks in the bathroom mirror, and then splashes water in his face, and then he gets his day started, right? That's supposed to signify, like, the waking up. This is a new life. This is a new day. Like, literally, like, almost in a sense, like, religious sense, like, this is a new life. This is a new start. That's why the events that are about to take place in this day are going to affect us for the rest of the movie, or months, or however long the movie, is supposed to take place in. You know what I'm trying to say? That's why I resonate so heavily with that. It's like, when you wake up, it's like, man, we are on this undertaking, this lifelong journey. I just kind of talk for 20 minutes straight. I'm sorry. I need to start pausing. I just want people to really get it like that. It's just like, and I say all this, and what I said might be heavy. This is the last thing I'm saying. What I said might be heavy, but it's just like, I want you to understand that, like, there's more to life than just, once you understand this, you notice how beautiful it all is at the same time. So, like, what I'm saying is heavy, but what I'm really saying is, like, man, it's beautiful. Once you really understand it, and then you realize, like, all this stuff that they're talking about, like, oh, you know, all the control and all that's like, man, you're going to be here, if you choose to, forever. You know, well, not forever, but I'm saying, like, it's something that you're never going to have to worry about whatever, you know, the bad guys are trying to do. Like, we'll always overcome. Those plans are just, you kind of just, like, you hear them, like, oh, that's what they're doing now? Whatever. You're part of the role. It's just like, and I think, all right, last official thing. That's why it's so funny when people are really tapped in. Like, I'm going to say Kanye, for example. Like, when Kanye said, oh, I can see, he said, I can see the whole paradigm for, you know, the next 100 years or something like that. When you can see that, and you already know where the future is going to go, because you know it's all he really said was, I see how the future loops, and I see how the loops get created. I can make the loop, I can start the loop earlier if I want to. I have the power where, oh, this is going to be cool in 20 years, well, I'm going to do it now. I can do it now. Or, I know what this belief is going to be cool. You can see how the trends are going to get there in 20 years, 50 years. Well, I'm going to do it now. That's all that is. You're just starting the loop earlier, but acting like you really, you know, are deeper than that. And that's not even that hard. The hard part is actually not using it selfishly and figuring out how can I prepare my family and my friends to be all on the same page moving forward. And that's all I'm trying to do. So I love y'all. It's probably my last video for a while. Unless I put one out over Christmas break. Maybe I'll put one out over Christmas break. We'll see what thoughts I got by then. All right? Love y'all. Be safe.